and welcome to the July show of Cinetopia Radio Show and Podcast. I'm Amanda, and I'm here with two very regulars, but good to see you. It's been a couple months since we've all been together, but Gary and Clara. Gary, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Amanda. Yeah, it's good to be back on. I think it was the Berlin episode that was the last one I did, which feels like a long time ago now.
Yeah, well, I think we were all on this then, weren't we?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was snowing then, and now I have a tan. That says everything.
Yeah, we recorded that one in person as well in Leaf.
Yeah. Well, that was fun, and we'll be bringing up Berlin a bit probably in this show as we give a kind of preview to the Edinburgh International Film Festival. Yeah. Clara, how about you? How have you been?
I'm good. I am struggling with sunburn. I'm a sunburn survivor. It's hard, but I'm alive. I'm staying alive. And yeah, film-wise, I'm good. I've been seeing a lot, and I'm really excited about what is to come and what we're going to talk about today, given that I am very much a fan of the sort of 28 universe. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. No, Scotland is getting its big heat wave at the moment, right? So we're in the midst of that. I'm in Florida, so I've been heat waved for the last few weeks, and it doesn't change much. But we're still getting into the cinema. Since Cinetopia just did a collaborative screening at Film House. I hope you both have gone to see the Film House, or have you not?
I've been twice since it reopened, and loving having it back. It's cool. Like, it still kind of feels like it's got the same character, but like the foyer's all been refurbished with like little screens for booking your tickets and stuff. But I went to see The Brutalist in 70mm there, which I'd already seen obviously earlier in the year, and but I thought if I'm going back for my first trip back, I wanted it to be a big one. So I was sat in there for 4 hours watching The Brutalist, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then I went to see Tornado last week as well, the new John McClane Scottish Western samurai movie that was filmed in the Pentlands, which I enjoyed as well. So loving having it back, and I think I'll be trying to make it. I've signed up for the membership as well, so hopefully I'll be back kind of once a week moving forward.
Yeah, the membership looks pretty good as well. Like it's similarly to, Cameo, which I think is a pretty good membership as well.
Yeah.
So
it's good value. It's good value because it's £60 for the year, but you get 5 free tickets with your membership, and the tickets are £12 a ticket anyway. And then you save, so you only need to go 5 times in a year for it to pay for itself, and then you get all the discounts and stuff on top of that. So no brainer.
Whereas I'm a traitor. Okay, so I was meant to go see Len yesterday, which is meant to be my brilliant classic to like reintroduce me to the Film House, and then I goofed my schedule and I didn't. So now I'm gonna go see either In the Mood for Love or probably Barry Lyndon. I think that'd be really good to see on the big screen, get an opportunity to do that, because I've read so much about Barry Lyndon, so I think it would look so beautiful, all the candles and the costume. So yeah, that's my plan.
And Gary, you were in the first screen, so I guess you were able to check out the new seats. Everyone's talking about how more comfortable it is, or?
It's a bit. I think they've increased. I think the leg room's a little better, which obviously for me is good at 6'4". So I appreciated that, and they've got cup holders now in the seats, which is nice. So you don't have to like sit your coffee down on the floor and then try to like protect it.
It's the best.
And yeah, so you've got a little cup holder now for coffee, which is magic. So yeah, it's really good.
Great. Well, I'm excited to go back when I'm back, but also good note that it recently was announced that the Film House will be one of the venues of the Edinburgh International Film Festival this August, which we'll be covering as our next show. But as we normally do, but I also, but also Cameo's back. So if you're partial to I know that both Clara and Gary have always had, I think Clara, you're kind of a Cameo person, and previous Gary was a Film House person, but now we'll have both of them, depending on the programming, but also the film festival will be in both, which is fun. And I think they both have their unique sort of elements to them as well. But speaking of the Edinburgh International Film Festival, they just came out with the program, but there's a lot on offer. And we did a quick little shout out on social media, but very excited to see the experimental shorts as highlighting our one of our faves from Berlin, Koki Chow, Clara. You were happy to see that, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, I am. I mean, I love, obviously I love going to film festivals and seeing things, but so often I'm just I worry that I will talk my friends' ears off about it or talk to people about it, and then they'll never get to see it. So this is a really fantastic opportunity for me to noise people up about going, and they can actually go see it in Edinburgh. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. And I haven't really been to an experimental shorts in a few years, but yeah, that makes me more inclined to go to the experimental short program because but that one was such a phenomenal film that we saw and was particular interest from the Berlin Film Festival. Gary, how about you? Do you have some sort of thoughts on the program that has been announced a couple weeks ago?
Program looks really good, and I'm not usually one for going to these screenings of short movies, but by your recommendation there, this year might be the year when I'll change that. And there's also, I wanted to give a little shout out to a film called Blondie, directed by Jack Salvadori, which is part of the competition shorts. A mate of mine is one of the producers. So keep your eye out for that one. It's a 19-minute movie about Hitler and his dog.
Blondie, that Blondie.
Yeah, that Blondie with an I.
Blondie.
So we have
yeah.
Koki and Blondie. There's like a similarity to
dictators and their pets, man.
Yeah,
wow. Yeah.
So yeah, callback to the previous one. But so that I said I'd give a little shout out for that. So keep an eye out for that one. And I'm excited to dive into the program again. Obviously, we just mentioned that the Film House is back, so it's great to have that back. There's a film that it was one of my favorites at Berlin. Don't think we reviewed it, but I think I spoke about it briefly, called Islands, which is directed by a German guy. It's got a mostly British cast, but it's set in Spain. So a bit of a European thing with Sam Riley and Stacey Martin, and that's on the program at EIFF. So recommend people trying to see that. Like the gala movies look really good. Obviously we've got Paul Singh, Edinburgh local, doing the Irvine Welsh documentary. It's kind of like different style to there was an Irvine Welsh documentary a couple of years ago as well. So he's a man in demand just now for telling his stories and telling stories off him. So and then the Midnight Madness strand is back again as well, and there's some in that. A new film from Ben Wheatley, and a new one from Gerard Johnson, a filmmaker I really like. He's got a film out called Odyssey, which I've been wanting to see for a while. So that's another one that's on the radar.
There's a few conversations with like Ben Wheatley, which I'm excited about, Jeremy Thomas. So as they did last year, they had some really interesting conversations. I was sort of thinking maybe we would get a little we already had Alex Garland, but it's a little Danny Boyle or something with the 28 years later. But
it was so good. That was such a good dynamic. It was, very good.
Well, Nia DaCosta is doing a in person with, and she's directing the next 20 years later movie.
Yeah.
So there is a tie-in with the In Conversation events. It's interesting.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I will, on the back of that, actually, in terms of recommendations, and you saying that you're kind of thinking about going to see some short films, I would encourage everyone to go to the Bridging the Gap films. They're really special. They're really interesting work. So there's a scheme to connect like newer filmmakers with making their earlier first short films, and they're remarkable. They're really remarkable works, and you can see a lot of different films in one go. So I really highly recommend Bridging the Gap. But I've also got tickets to go see Two Neighbors, which is premiering like the opening film with my friend. So I'm excited for that. Although I suppose that needs less of a mention from us, given that it's quite a high-profile American movie. But I'm excited for that.
And I agree with you. But get your tickets for Bridging the Gap because that's often a sold out event at the film festival for sure. But yeah, some of their, in competition are films like last year. I think I didn't, we haven't, because they're world premieres, we might not know about. And that was the one things I really enjoyed about last year. So I got to see a lot of stuff that I still think about and, would be considering programming as well in the future. So yeah, I definitely think it's worth taking a look at the whole program and sort of considering it. Any other recommendations or?
A few other ones, I guess, like not. I suppose keep an eye out for them because obviously I've not seen them yet. But some filmmakers that I've liked in the past. There's a film called Dragonfly by Paul Andrew Williams, which I'd be interested to see, and Toxic Avenger, which looks a bit mental from the poster, by Mason Blair, who's a actor who does. He was in Blue Ruin, and he was in Oppenheimer as well. So like he's a face that people recognize, and I think this is maybe his first or second directorial effort. But he's an interesting creative. So in this one, looks like it will be fitting for like that Midnight Madness strand. I think it's part of the program as well. So yeah, there are my other two shout outs.
Yeah, I'm excited for Midnight Madness as well. I mean, I currently have about 15-20 tabs open on my laptop for EIFF, so I don't even know where to start, to be honest. But The Mortician, I think, looks super intriguing, as does Redux and Surviving Earth. Yeah, there's films from all across the world, and playing with surrealism, fast and loose with reality, insanely creative. So yeah, just dig in, just open up all your tabs and get into it. That's what I'd recommend.
But yeah, so much on. Definitely something we'll hopefully be covering it more intensely in the next month. And you'll see us there, hopefully. So say hi if you see any of us around. But yeah, when we come back, we will be talking about Danny Boyle and Alex Garland's latest film, 28 Years Later.
7, 6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles today, 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Don't look at what's in front of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. Men go mad with watching them. There's no discharge in the war. If your eyes drop, they will get the top of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war.
Okay, so the first film we're going to talk about is 28 Years Later. And Clara, you've been a fan of the 28 Days films. What did it tell us about this film?
Well, so for I love the films. I think most people who are into the genre do, or at least people who sort of love British cinema. I think everyone's got a bit of a soft spot for the first 28 Days film because, for many reasons, is the beginning of where we find ourselves now in the sort of zombie lore universe in TV and in cinema. And also because it was such an egalitarian project as well. So for that reason, I've been really into it. But anyway, so currently 28 years later takes us to the most interesting timeline, in my opinion, which is 28 years after the initial infection in the United Kingdom. So yeah, I think it's always been bound to be the most compelling time frame to base a 28 story and build a world in. And we find ourselves looking at a Britain who has been abandoned and that has been isolated and quarantined by the rest of the world, although the details on that are a little bit blurry and ambiguous. But Britain has been locked down at the end of the last film, the second film. Everyone tried to flee. There was a massive outbreak thanks to two unbearably obnoxious and selfish young people. I did a binge watch of the other two films, so I'm still fresh being annoyed about them doing that to the UK. Yeah, and we find ourselves looking at an island off the coast of England, which has isolated itself and managed to build a community. And then we follow the story of a son, Spike, and a father as they take um, their first journey onto the mainland as a rite of passage for young Spike. So 28 years later is focusing on the community which has found themselves on an island protected by the sea from the mainland. The elder males of the island go to the mainland to pillage, to go grab provisions and then make their way back. So the story basically follows young Spike, who is about 12 years old, and his dad, and about what unfolds when they make their first trip to the mainland. Yeah. So yeah, I love the 28 universe. So I was really excited about this because of the ramifications of there being 28 years having passed since the infection. It means that there's a next generation of people who are born and raised in the world post-infection. And even there's like a post-abandonment quality of Britain, which is fascinating from the point of view of thinking about what could have happened politically after the second film and about the international reaction to Britain and about locking it down. Yeah, so
And can I also make mention that is it true that it was all filmed on iPhones? Do you know?
No, that is not true. That is not true. So it is, yeah, it is it is different. It's experimental and innovative in the sense that they've decided to go for different techniques, and there were iPhones used for like a bullet film. So like for certain shots from the zombies who are running through the woods, they use that. But no. Although, yeah, there were leaked photos, weren't there, from the set where they had like this massive rig that looked really conventional, and then people zoomed in and they found out there was an iPhone, and people got absolutely scandalized. Yeah, I don't know why like people are so shocked that Boyle would do that. I mean, like he's been saying since day dot for the first 28 days that he's really he uses unconventional methods because he believes I think he kind of believes in irking people and pissing off people who are really like technologically pretentious, I would dare to say. I saw him giving advice to a young filmmaker recently that was like his core piece of advice was to not listen to the older generation and just do anything to kind of subvert what they're doing or telling you to do. And he's very much interested in the story and driving the story, and that being like the driving force of the film, not any kind of like meeting a technological threshold. That said, though, I think there are some really compelling and beautiful moments in the film, like visually speaking. And I think, although at times it kind of does slip into feeling a little bit like a music video-y, I think it's incredibly refreshing, and in the sense that it's like a non-Hollywood film and it's a very British film. And it's so far from the predictable kind of Hollywood filmmaking that feels like there's a lot of creative freedom, a lot of innovation, a lot of experimentation going on in the film. Yeah, the bullet time rigs are really interesting and fun shots, so they really amp up the action and make you feel as if you're in it. And I love thinking of them rigging that up and going with it and having these pristine, perfect, intense practical effects and makeup on the infected, and then trying to use the iPhone to and then the trickery of the camera to try and pull you into the realism of it, because the thinking behind the iPhone was meant to be that we're so used to seeing content. We see content constantly. Things are being live streamed. We are so close to reality, yet so removed from it. So he was hoping to kind of, from what I could gather from his interviews, like play into people's like modern day psychology. That if they're seeing a bit of iPhone footage, they might get their rat brain engaged and feel like they were being threatened themselves because they were living the experience. So just making it a little bit more real and bringing it closer. Yeah, and I love that they wanted to take it away from the urban centers of Britain in this post-apocalyptic world. They want to look at how the logic of an infection would play out in the world over 28 years. So behaviorally, how would these infected people have to, would be developing? I mean, they're people. That there's no supernatural element to it. They're just infected people. They're sick people who have to eat, they have to drink, and it poses the question and then answers the question: what else are they doing that is human? The infected. They hunt in packs, so therefore, do they have alphas? What makes one person an alpha? Are the people who aren't capable of hunting in packs off doing their own thing? What are they up to? How does the society and behavior of the infected then impact the survivors as much as it's a film about how the survivors are building their worlds and building their societies and their cultures. Yeah, so there's a lot going on in this film. It is like pretty messy, I'd say. It is like a pretty big grab bag of ideas. However, obviously that is in service of setting up for the future films, which are already penciled in to be directed and released. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting what you said about it kind of being the opposite of what we expect from like these big American blockbusters. Like it does feel like a kind of messy antidote to what we come to expect, and it's like it kind of keeps the same visual identity as like the previous films in the franchise, where it's kind of grainy and shaky, and it's like you're not quite sure. Like it's far from predictable. Like when you think it's going to zag, it zags, and it's just like you don't know what's going to happen next. And I was kind of newish to the whole franchise. I had kind of missed the boat on the first movie, and then watched that in the cinema for the first time a few years ago. And then I only watched 28 Weeks Later, about a week before this new one came out. So I was quickly kind of bringing myself up to speed with it. And yeah, I was surprised that 28 Weeks Later got a bit of a divisive reaction. I thought it was really good, if not maybe, I don't want to say better than, possibly preferred it to the first one. But yeah, I love that.
I hate those kids, man. I hate those kids.
Yeah, a young Imogen Poots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that Danny Boyle just like you say, he like plays with form. He like throws all these ideas at it, and we kind of see what sticks. But there is a good film in there, like a really enjoyable film, and the action scenes, these kind of terror sequences where the zombies are coming after the main characters. They're suspenseful. They're terrifying. Like they're really well made. Yeah, and I like that he's kept it. He kind of like the opening of the film kind of retcons what happened at the end of the last film, because I think the virus was spread into Paris, and then like there's like an opening crawl at this one where he kind of says like, I came back to the UK, so we're just gonna kind of like forget what happened before. We're back in the UK, and it's in Lindisfarne, and it's kind of got a real like sense of Britain in the filmmaking. Like there's these like old like war folklore like imagery that gets used to like tie into the history of Britain, which feels like you just wouldn't get that in another, like,
absolutely not,
a big blockbuster from anyone else. And then there's like references to like the Teletubbies and like kind of like British pop culture, which would kind of bring us on to a kind of crazy bold swing of an ending, which I guess we can maybe talk about, but it's
spoilers.
So
yeah, from this point onwards, be advised that the chat is opening up to potentially cover a spoiler. Spoiler.
Yes. What I will say is they shot this film and the next film back to back, so the sequel has already been filmed, and it comes out in January 2026. And so I guess we'll just get into it. So go for it. Jack O'Connell is in this film, and his appearance in the film had been kind of kept under wraps, and he'd been asked in an interview when he was doing press for Sinners like what his character was like, and he didn't say too much about it. So he turns up for like the last 2 minutes of the film.
It's such a jump scare. It is like, because I had no knowledge about his involvement in this film, so as soon as he popped up in the last probably two to three probably is like, is really brief, a really brief,
which kind of sets up the next film, which is going to be called The Bone Temple. So he's going to have a bigger part to play in that. But in this, there's an opening sequence before the main narrative where we see a little boy called Jimmy who loses his family because his mum gets killed, and his dad's a priest, and his dad sacrifices himself, hands his son a crucifix, and says, "Hold on to this; it will keep you safe." And then it cuts, and then we get the main story with Jodie Comer and Alfie Williams, Aaron Taylor Johnson, all the main cast. Then I guess like we're saying,
Jimmy lives happily ever after. No, Jimmy just like goes and is normal. He has a normal life.
3 minutes before the end, we find Jimmy again with his crucifix, dressed like Jimmy Savile,
with a band of other Jimmys.
with a troop of with a gang that refer to themselves as the Jimmies, which I'm sure we'll find out a lot more about that in Mia DaCosta's sequel. But I love Jack O'Connell. I'm a big fan of his, and I think, yeah. Well, first I kind of want to get your take on this ending first, as a big fan of the.
So I went in knowing that there was a divisive, I heard there was a divisive ending, and I was like, oh, I wonder why. And if I was going to be sort of, I don't know why I thought this was going to be more of a highbrow thing than it was, especially given, maybe it's because the second film, which I think is its downfall, is that it was too serious. Do you know what I mean? It was very clean and a bit too, it was trying to be very slick, and I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. When I rewatched it, I was like, oh, I remember this doesn't deserve the flack it's getting. But anyway, yeah, I don't know why I thought it was going to be, so serious, but I knew it was going to be controversial, so I was so happy that it was this. This is the reason why it was controversial, because Jack O'Connell pops up dressed as Jimmy Savile, wearing a little diamante tiara with a Scottish accent, with a group of bleach blonde people doing gymnastics and fighting the infected. And I was very happy. I was extremely happy about it, and I love, again, which I'll go back to, but this sort of thought exercise that the film opens up, which is what happens if you go back to the year 2000, 2001, 2002, which are, I think it's 2002, and, British cultural development just stops there. So you have a group of of children at the time who obviously never found out that Jimmy Savile was a horrible sex predator, paedophile, taking on this really comforting, assertive, and like brash persona, thinking that maybe taking the concept of Jim will fix it to the place of rampaging and around Britain dispatching the infected is like really empowering and is a brilliant way to order your society. Just thinking that there are so many kids roaming around Britain at this point, 28 years after the fact, 30-somethings, 40-somethings that were children that just never grew up or never had any adult intervention in their life. That alone is such a fascinating concept. Also I love the fact that they're in Scotland at this point, I think. They're in Scotland. They're just beyond a wall, and they're kicking ass with white blonde hair, which is very much like the Picts were doing back in the day. So I like that kind of like perhaps unintentional, maybe intentional allusion there. That was very satisfying. I love the thought experiment of all in the world building. I thought it was really great.
I want to hear more of Jack O'Connell's Scottish accent, because
oh god, it's going to be awful.
Scottish. Obviously, so this like opening scene with the dad and the vicar and the crucifix, they clearly say that that's somewhere in the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah.
But then when we see him again, to me, he sounded Irish. But I don't know if I'm just so used to Jack O'Connell doing an Irish accent because of his like
he's giving his SAS
heroes, and he's like this kind of like, obviously he was American in Sinners, but he had this kind of like Irish thing with singing Wild Time and all that sort of stuff. So like, I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I'm loving what he's doing.
Yeah, they can they could totally just skirt around it, can't they? They could be like, oh well, there weren't that many Scottish people for him to have an accent. They could just they can spirit that away. But I mean, he does seem to be such a dark comic character that I think he could just totally get away with it. But yeah, I am looking forward to hearing what accent he comes up with. But we're giving him a lot of airtime there. But there's so many concepts in the film, which, I mean, I've seen a lot of people, detractors, say that there's too much going on. There's too many concepts. There's too much happening. And I agreed to an extent. So there's so many unanswered, like half-baked concepts that come up. So for example, to name a few, it's the evolution of the disease. And the infection, there's a lot of unanswered questions there. Is there a kind of hyper-evolution going on there? Is there a new offshoot from humankind? What about Spike? What about his fate? What about Jimmy at the beginning of the film? Like, what happened in the interlude, the period that we don't see? How is the island community that Spike and his father come from? How is that founded? What are their beliefs, really? There's only a light understanding, but it keeps you kept me engaged, thinking about what is on the horizon. And also then you've got Ralph Fiennes, who plays Dr. Kelson, who very much from the trailers comes off as the villain of the piece and as the sinister force in the film, but then actually ends up being a much more complicated figure. Again, spoiler, a much more complicated figure than you would have thought. And so you don't understand why the Doctor has come to be who he is. You also don't understand that a lot of other things, like nature, for example, like the reclamation of the British landscape. You're not sure what's going on there. It's and the soldiers that are coming.
There's unanswered questions, and as well, at the end of the second movie, they alluded to the little boy being bitten but not being infected, similar to like the whole like Last of Us thing, where like the mum had been attacked, and so I kind of thought that there was going to be something more on that. But I guess if we know that this one is the first film of what will be a new trilogy, then I guess there's room to kind of like explain more of fill in the gaps of what's happened between then and now, which
it takes the edge off because there are so many questions. There are so many questions. Like and with the soldier, for example, we have a Nordic soldier who accidentally finds himself in Britain, stranded in Britain, when a standard sort of operation goes awry. And then there's a lot of questions arise there about about the united global military effort to keep Britain in quarantine. But I just to move on from all the questions which will be answered in the next couple of films. I theme wise, I really enjoyed the theme of death and the treatment of death and how we explore that, because in films such as this, in horror and also in zombie films, death is very much a sort of like taken at a video game level, which is, it's just something you don't want to do, and once you are dead, you're somebody that's going to get you're going to get shot in the head, and there's not really much else to it. But this gives a treatment of death in this universe where there is a zombie infection, a much more deeper treatment. And I think I really enjoyed looking through Ralph Fiennes' character of the Doctor, exploring the concept of living and death and how people can societies create new but also new ways of dealing with death and how societies deal with it, but like harking back to like ancient macabre connections to that. I enjoyed that.
And I would say as well, like, and amongst all the viruses and zombies and the world building, there is like a really strong mother and son bond. I feel like at the emotional core of this film, really well played. Jodie Comer plays the mum and Alfie Williams plays the son, and I think they're both really good, and it kind of like grounds the film somewhat with like all these crazy ideas going on around them. They are like there's a kind of nice mother and son story there, and Jodie Comer does a really good Geordie accent as well, which I enjoyed.
She does. Yeah, it's very. I think it's well balanced, like you say, in the sense that there's really human performances. There's a lot of stories that are based and rooted in the surviving communities and the family dynamics there that are really compelling, and a lot of tensions, dramas, scandals, issues going on there that keep it really meaty. But also then you do get your fill of action and intensity, and so I absolutely loved it. Really, actually, in hindsight, I'm sort of developing my my solid opinion of it there. And
it was a fan.
Yeah,
thumbs up from me.
As was I. But yeah, from a technical point of view, I do think it's very interesting thinking about the camera work, and then I'd like to rewatch it and knowing more about how the cameras were set up and the rigs and everything, and rewatch it and then to be able to spot things a little bit better. Apparently Boyle's been doing that for a while, like in the famous scene in the first film on the bridge. It's the empty bridge. People have talked about it a lot, saying like, oh, how did they manage to get the center of London so empty, and they have him in this extended scene? But it turns out that he set up a rig where there were multiple cameras, so like they just shot him going. They didn't shoot very much, but they had so many angles of it and the way that they'd done the rig that it made it seem like they'd been there for much longer. So he's always been at these tricksy things, but he's really taken it up to the next level in this film. And for example, like the cosmic waterway chase scene when they're running across the water. So that is just brilliant and insane and heightened and very cosmic. And loved it.
And shout out, like I said previously, the drone team is a Scottish-based team, so a lot of the cool drone shots you saw were local filmmakers who worked on this.
Ooh, I have one more comment to make about the because I watched an interview with Alex Garland, and as you mentioned already, Gary, there's a lot of archival moments, a lot of allusions to world wars, very British nostalgic war era kind of overlaying sound and clips, and apparently Garland is just really interested in looking at Britain as like a hyper as a regressive state, in a regressive state of being, which people will find themselves in post-infection, obviously. So he's saying that like it's a very prescient film in the sense that in the last 15 years, Britain has found itself with a real preoccupation with looking backwards, and with a view to recovering a state of like glorious sovereignty. And he's concerned about the fact that people are cherry picking memories, and there's a certain sort of cultural amnesia and misremembering. And so that really plays into the way that the island community and the surviving community like sort of function. So I think it's actually a bit more of a slightly political film than I thought. Actually, when I was watching it, I wrote down, "Is this a Brexit comment?"
Yeah.
The fact that the British people are just like become like backwards, troglodyte, kind of violent, aggy, insular.
Yeah, they kind of tease that, I guess, in the kind of the development of Ralph Fiennes' character and the kind of allure around him and what people are remembering within the film.
Mm.
And then I guess like it taps into that crazy ending as well, about misremembering and cultural amnesia, which I think it was Garland's phrase, which was kind of And I just one last thing is the music in this is kind of as mental as all the visuals. It kind of like fits in really well, and it's all done by Young Fathers, which is this Scottish hip hop group. So which they did the music for Trainspotting 2 as well. So I think it was those guys, and then like the same cinematographer and Danny Boyle. They've got like a good thing going with these visuals. So shout out for that, because it was the music kind of fits with how mental the film is.
Absolutely, yeah, and it really differentiates it from a typical film. It's really different, different from a typical score, and it really works, I think.
28 years later, still out in cinemas right now. So check it out.
Apparently, Cillian Murphy will pop up at some point. Well, Cillian Murphy will pop up in a form other than, the emaciated body of a zombie in a field, which is what people thought he was thinking.
Yeah, because I think they have said that he's going to be in the next one, in the Bone Temple. I don't know in what capacity.
Stephen. I would never do anything to compromise your integrity. What if it really was like a moment like this?
You've been chosen as an extra in the movie adaptation of the sequel to your life.
Were you a kid in the 90s? We were a band called Pavement. We were big on MTV.
Go back to those gold songs.
It's good for my career. Maybe win an award or something. I can't play Billy Joel.
I always was hoping that it was music for the future. I think everyone who's not that successful in their time tries to think that.
Well, if you're trying to sound cool and smart, you're going to talk about Pavement.
That's right. It's the one band I don't know how to talk about.
I love them so much. I was obsessed with Slant and Enchanted.
They're like the slacker Rolling Stones of the 90s.
My first Pavement album truly changed my life. I heard Pavement for the first time 6 weeks ago.
Wowie zowie. I love to say it.
Look at these guys, the band that ruined Lollapalooza.
Rewarded for dying young in this business. It's like you're struggling over some notes. Probably have an ulcer over them.
Song's stupid.
Song's stupid.
Song's really
stupid. I'll try to look like you try to look like me.
It's becoming like a thing. I can't even believe I'm calling him Joe.
I don't think I really want to be Steven. I don't want to be Steven anymore.
I thought it was supposed to be fake. This is all real.
Obviously, we're telling a story about Pavement, but it's a story about mankind.
Great. So the next film we're going to review is Pavements, directed by Alex Ross Perry, indie New York filmmaker, and Claire is going to tell us about this film.
Yeah, so Pavements has been described as an experimental musical biopic concert film, which goes some way to explaining the many layers of this film. So it's written, co-produced, and directed by Alex Ross Perry, and yeah, it's classified as a docufiction, which is a very interesting mishmash of genres. And it's about the American indie band Pavements. So it's a really meta sort of palimpsestic layering of footage from the 2022 tour that Pavement undertook. Also mixing in sort of footage of a spoof biopic filmmaking process. So from the audition tapes to the actors' research processes, their dialect coaching, shooting the film, and also a jukebox musical production, which is which is also being undertaken by the director, which so that encompasses rehearsals in the New York rehearsal studios, and also finally, last but not least, the museum opening, a museum opening of an exhibition of Pavements, sort of like, I don't see memorabilia. I feel like that ages me and also the band too much, but like ephemera, bits and bobs. So yeah.
Which also has supposedly real and unreal items in it, so adding to the docufiction.
Yes, this whole thing is difficult to pin down. You don't know what's real and what's unreal. It's very meta, and I think it's fitting. It's extremely fitting. I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell from looking at me, but I am a big fan of Pavement, actually, as it happens. And yeah, I think it's less about Pavement's members and their talents and their demons as much as it is about the breadth and depth of the impact that Pavement had on the underground culture, underground music, but also sort of like punk and grunge culture and now mainstream culture, and an appropriately layered, oddball, sort of cut and paste fanzine ode to Pavement. So yeah, very, very unconventional, and very amusing and difficult to pin down. Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It actually went over my head that it was the biopic process was a spoof. Like, so I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that, but yeah, I think it clicked for me when they started showing the photo of the tongue to their dialect coach. That was when the penny dropped for me. What about you?
Gary?
So I was going into this having having heard of Pavement, but I didn't know anything about Pavement. I knew that they were an American band, and I've heard of Alex Ross Perry. I've not seen any of his other stuff, so I was coming at this completely blind, to the point where I'd seen something on somebody laughing about a press screening in Venice of this film, where they said that 20 minutes in, somebody was Googling, "Are Pavement a real band?" Which I feel like almost like was my experience of like each of the things in the film that you mentioned, I thought were made up for the film, like the musical and the exhibition, which I guess they were, but I also didn't realize that they actually existed as well, if that makes sense. So I felt like the whole time the film feels like an in-joke that I wasn't in on. which is fine. Like I enjoyed the creativity of it, but I just don't like. Obviously, I wasn't. I think for fans of the film and for fans of the band, sorry, and for people that get it, then people are going to love it. But
I feel like I should have gotten it. I should have been able to get it, and I still didn't really get it until I was Googling it, which is not where you really want to be.
Yeah. So like all the way through the film, I was kind of enjoying it, but then also having to like question and things. It's like, what is this a joke? Is this real? I don't know. Like, the only part that I actually knew was the kind of joke part was the stuff with like, so they've got like Joe Keery from Stranger Things and like Nat Wolff from Oh God, what was he in just recently? A Quiet Place too. And different actors pretending to be preparing to play the band in a film. So I enjoyed that part almost more than the stuff actually about the real band. I thought Joe Keery kind of trying to get into the mindset of the lead singer was, I think he did a really good job. He was really fine.
He was very deadpan. I mean, yeah, they took it to a place of Spinal Tap, but in a really subtle, a very, very subtle way, to the point, yeah, there's some brilliant little lines and moments, like, where one of the actors, for example, is talking about, he's playing a drummer, and he's talking about his inner metronome, and about he doesn't necessarily need to learn how to play drums. It's more about, the inner metronome. And yeah, and the lead saying, I'm not gonna, that he's doing this because he's not gonna play Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Meaning that Stephen is like an achievable guy to play in terms of musical biopic because he can't sing.
And stuff about singing out of tune being revolutionary. And at one point he said like, oh, it's some like form of activism, and Joe Keery says, well, I think of it more as slacktivism, which I thought was that was my favourite line.
Absolutely, yeah. Since Pavement was described as like a slacker band, is like that was like their genre, or like their slacker.
Lost Perry's like a kind of mumblecore kind of director. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the same period of time. Did you mention Jason Schwartzman's in this film too? Because
I've not gotten there yet.
No, real obsession with supporting actor roles that Jason Schwartzman does, and I feel like there's a whole program of a weekend of Jason Schwartzman supporting roles, which this is another good one.
I think actually his Jason Schwartzman's appearance made me realize that it was a joke. It was a send up because he plays jokes so like on the cuff, like on just you can see that he's joking. But yeah, the short film is called
incredibly meta.
Yeah,
I feel like he's one of these actors that like you can't. I think we talked about that with The Last Showgirl. It's like you can't kind of cast him without sort of knowing it's Jason Schwartzman. It's like a little bit like Thumbsucker with Keanu Reeves. Like when you see Keanu Reeves, you know it's Keanu Reeves, and you like it's hard to kind of pull that out. So I think that's obviously Alex Ross Perry is very connected to Jason Schwartzman. They're like their filmography is very tied. But yeah, as a film, I found I wanted to like this. I actually went on a huge Alex Ross Perry but because there's a connection with Kim's Video, which is a film that we distributed. He was in the film, he was interviewed, but he was also a clerk at Kim's Video, and so a lot of his career sort of came up in that kind of New York indie scene. And so and also I did get to see Steve Malkmus in the Jicks when I was like in my 20s in New York City. Very memorable indie experience. So Pavement is definitely this, this something I grew up with and liked via all the crushes I had on boys who gave me tapes with Pavement. But yeah, I sort of agree with you both in this. Well, I don't know if you said that, Clara, but this joke, like there was a bit of nostalgia for me for liking Pavement, but at the same time there was a bit of like these dudes from California, and also these fans over different generations, whether it was Joe or Alex, who were sort of in on something that I never totally 100% got, because I think even back then I wanted to, because the hipster dudes were people I was hanging out with, but I didn't totally get all of the brilliance that was this bro slacker culture. And I think in the chaos that was 4 separate things happening, and the film has those 4 things happening all at the same time. It's like you can only put your attention on one and sort of figure it out. I wasn't really I didn't think it was. I wished it was better than for me. That I didn't get as much out of it as I wanted to, and and I would also say this in the sense, and I mean this in the most kind way to all of these filmmakers, but there are quite a few filmmakers who make documentaries about bands who are very good at what they do, like Spike Lee with American Utopia, and Spike Jonze with the Beastie Boys, and now Alex Ross Perry with this Pavement. and they're just not working for me. And like this whole definition of what a documentary is, it's like they're doing this on the side of making their next film, and maybe a documentary should be easy so they can just do this. And what it tends to be is some sort of like half, like theater, like presentation that Apple movie funds, and half the time it's some sort of play that I don't think I think the play was on for like 2 days, and I'm like,
yeah. So it technically existed, but in the sense that that Nathan For You episode where he helps a bar sideline like the smoking rules by having a play in the corner of the room. It's like, that level, I think.
Yeah, and so the joke of that maybe, and again, maybe this is me taking documentary genre quite seriously, is that I don't necessarily find. I mean, I wouldn't say that with American Utopia, and Spike Lee. I definitely think they took that quite seriously. But I mean, in this case, it feels like they're kind of doing this as a side project, and it's
no, you're completely right, because there was a New Yorker article by Holden Seidlitz about this in 2022 when I think the musical came out. The performance happened. And I really don't think Stephen Malkmus, who's the frontman, comes off well from the film at all, which is interesting. I don't know if that was
funny, because I was sort of crushing on him again, later on. I was like, I remember I had a book on him before, but
treat him mean, keep him keen. Am I right? That seems like Stephen's methodology. It's but so apparently so Pavement, the band, because they had this acrimonious split in 1999, and then they came together again because when they realized that not selling out is a pretty bullshit concept and they want money, so they decided to get back together again. And they wanted a movie, but Stephen Malkmus said he wasn't interested in hiring a documentary filmmaker, and he said he wanted to hire a screenwriter, but he didn't want a screenplay. And then Perry, the director, said no one knew what that meant. So then they've just sort of find themselves in the situation where they have the green light to do it, and they know that it's going to be successful. People are going to watch it. There's a massive cult fan base that are going to watch it, but they're just going to do whatever. They're just going to, and Perry has described it as a semiotic experiment and, quote, like throwing spaghetti at the wall, and it's just like, yeah, pretty much.
I would go along the side of if all of these things, this is sort of where the importance, I've seen a lot of films, and I will keep them unnamed, where I don't necessarily think the story was very good and it seemed chaotic, but somehow the editor was able to bring the project together and make a cohesive story. And that's one of the most important things about a documentary. The editor, they're certainly part director. What I don't think worked was the editing of this. I think you maybe could have taken this chaotic sort of mixture of things and put it together, and I would have been much more. I am an active, interested person in my nostalgia of why I listened to Pavement, or hung out with people who listened to Pavement more than me and know more about it. But I am not impressed by the overall package, which could have been something you could have gotten me around for all of those reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that is fair. I think for me, the nostalgia element did win, and the fact that they were trying to send themselves up, or at least Perry decided that it was the only way to make it kind of to broach that gap was to sort of send them up and take the piss out of them with the actors. And but yeah, no, I totally agree.
Also, I don't usually like this criticism, but I think in this case it could have been shorter. But I don't know if it needed to be over 2 hours. I was watching it at home, and my wife was kind of coming in and out of the room sometimes. She's like, "Is this film still on?" I was like, "Yeah, it's the same thing." So yeah, maybe it could have been 90 minutes.
Yeah, you are right that I didn't know. I think I agree with you, Claire, that I didn't realize that it this was a mock you thing, and at one point Joe Leary is in front of, and also nostalgia for me, the Whitney Museum. It's not the Whitney anymore. It's, I don't know what it is. Actually, I think it's closed down. But in 2022, it was, the Frick or something like that. And it's this really gorgeous brutalist building, which contemporary art, and supposedly, well, for real, where Pavement wrote, two of the, Steve Malkmus worked as a guard and wrote some of his lyrics. And the obsession with fandom in this at the beginning, I was like, are you kidding me? This was a bit, silly, but then now is it something that's being funny, and we're making fun of, or I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like it makes it a little bit better once you realize that.
I don't know what side of it I'm really on, because like I said earlier, like it does in the sense broach the fact that like the Pavement has had such an impact on people, in the sense that that they're trying to show the breadth of it. But then when you learn that and also you meet the fans, and then you get to like hear about people, like. But then when you realize that it's all being sort of like puppet mastered by by this one guy who's also producing the play, who's also doing this, and then it's and it's a joke. And it's albeit, at the expense of Pavement to an extent, you can help but wonder if it is sort of an expense of people who are fans too. And yeah.
Yeah, I found that. I didn't know, like I said earlier, it was like an in joke, but I actually didn't know like who was supposed to be the butt of the joke or not. So yeah, it was when they were like talking about the fandom, it felt like to me that they were poking fun at the fans.
Absolutely.
But then also the band, were they taking the piss out of the band? Like I wasn't sure like what the aim of the joke was.
I mean, I do get it from like, for example, like in the museum there's a shot of like a toenail clipping in a bag, and it's like, and then the little caption at the side, the faux sort of museum caption is obtained at at this gig, and it says the venue, and it's like from the band member who it was, and that could either be untrue, as you say, that could be ridiculous, or it could be like some kind of read as a good bit of satire about the ridiculousness of band fandom and how hard people go. But yeah, I mean, I do think the exhibition was quite an interesting concept, like bringing, it felt quite Dada, that element of it, and bringing all these posters, these like communications, all these, the sculpture, the golden astronaut from MTV, and then you've got Stephen Malkmus standing in front of it going like, we had a very difficult relationship with this network. There are elements that you just like, that I did find funny, but like overall, when you like take stock of it and think about it, you wonder at whose expense it is and like what they're really doing, and if you can really love it, because it's quite pretentious and quite all over the shop.
That's it. Like maybe one of these aspects and not all of them at once perhaps would have worked for me, or I don't know. Yeah, like I said, maybe if it had been edited better, it would have worked for me, because I am a Dada Fluxus fan, and I would go to this, and I'm also like obsessed with Matador. Like you said, there was a pretension to it that reminded me of that era or that type of boy, like guy band or something,
I mean, it was good at the museum then when they had the exhibition that they credited all the bands that were playing, that were all women fronted, like female bands, doing covers of Pavement. So that was quite a nice little touch. I guess they could have messed that up, but they didn't, so that was good. But yeah, no, absolutely here. I mean, my biggest takeaway from this is the fact that there's a Green Day and Alanis Morissette musical as well.
Oh yeah,
so no, I'm to know. That was great to learn that also exists. Thanks.
That's it. Also, on top of that, so I have filmed American Idiot, and because I used to film a lot of stuff on Broadway, and I also remember quite a few of these kind of jukebox musicals that come out, starting with one that like some of my Grateful Dead friends brought me to in San Francisco, where I was like, it's a Western and it's Grateful Dead, like. So right at the beginning of like a slanted and enchanted, musical, I was already completely turned off. Like, no, don't do it. I didn't know this happened because I wasn't living in New York. When it did for 2 days, I wouldn't have even gone, even if you had put Alex Rossberry and Pavement on the pick, but because I would have just said no. Also why I probably didn't like American Utopia either. Like, I just don't buy into this, like, take a really amazing album and turn it into some sort of, other alternative story. So
there was a really funny moment though when they're doing they're interviewing the leads of Slanted Enchanted the musical, and one of them was saying like, oh yeah, like they remind me of my adolescence. I can really pinpoint that when I listen to Pavement. And then the other is like, well, I hadn't heard them until 6 weeks ago, but when it's funny, like when I was reading through the script and everything, I just thought, wow, his lyrics are like a musical. They just remind me of musical numbers. And I was just like, okay, that's kind of that amused me. Also, hearing people audition for a musical in New York with gold sounds to gold sounds is hilarious. Like, I thought that was quite fun. Maybe I'll like it more when I wake up tomorrow. Who knows?
Yeah, also, I feel like maybe I could go back to this film and be like, I get it. And I just didn't, because it was, this is also where if I saw it in a cinema, my mind wouldn't have been like, it's so easy to be distracted when you're seeing four things all at once. And there's also, for me, maybe this is a call for why an archive film, just an archive documentary about a band, isn't all that bad, Alex Ross Perry. Maybe we should go back to slightly traditional ways of telling band stories, instead of having to be so cool and different that we have to add four elements to it. But but if I had maybe been in a separate, in an environment where I was forced to focus and not, if my eyes went, left and right too many times, in my living room.
Yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, now I think about it, actually, there are elements of it that it's a little bit sad that they glossed over, not from the point of view that I'm like a mega fan or anything and I'm just hungry for more, but in the sense that, for example, they mentioned Gary Young, who was the original drummer, and they really skirt over his personal problems. And it's just, and they have this one moment where it seems like it's going into a more traditional sort of we're getting into the demons facing these creative people and the struggles that they had and how that played into how the band made music and what they made, and then it just kind of drops it again, and then you're in the joke again, and it's sort of a bit like, oh, okay, that's, I mean, I don't want to be the kind of critic who criticizes a film for everything that it isn't, because you can't function that way. However, that did feel a little bit distasteful and a bit of a shame.
I think in this case as well, because it's all, most of it's a joke, then it's like if they did have something serious in it, me watching it with no knowledge of the band, I wouldn't know if they were joking or not about certain elements of the band members' real life.
Well, that's just how serious they are about not giving a fuck, and they're so punk rock that you could just go and tell lies and they don't even care. Yeah. They don't even care.
Once they establish the satirical tone, it's quite hard to get away from that.
Yeah, for sure, it dominates. And then at the end, they sort of pull together bits and bobs, sort of cycle through really fast, the next couple of years in the band's history, and it just sort of, you're a bit like, why this decision? But yeah, I mean, for the point of view, I enjoyed looking at the footage. It was fun, I guess, but yeah.
Well, and that also has inspired me to think about this Jason Schwartzman supporting actor program, because I'm now really into his role in everything that films I don't like but like him in, and I think that's my new.
You need to include queer in the program.
Oh, well, I haven't seen Queer, but I think I like that film. I'm not, I don't like Marie Antoinette, but I like Jason Schwartzman and Marie Antoinette. I don't really like The Last Showgirl, but I like Jason Schwartzman, and so.
It was so good in Queer. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to see it now, because then I can stream that as well. So, all right. So that's Pavements, mixed emotions here, but not for the band and the music, which is obviously going to be a huge part of our soundtrack this week on EHFM. But yes, check it out if you desire.
Some people look at Sonny Hayes. They see a guy who lives in a van, a gambling junkie who missed his shot, the best that never was. But I see possibility.
And if you don't love me now, we'll never.
My Rook is a phenomenal talent, but he's young. You plus him, boom, I got a team.
When was the last time you won a race?
Sunday, Daytona.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Formula One.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then same as you.
There's this new guy. He's old. He's such a prick. He's quick, though.
If you had any constructive criticism for each other, what would it be?
Don't be such an ass dickhead. That was constructive.
Wow.
So F1 is a Jerry Bruckheimer action movie about Formula One, F1 racing. I don't know anything about cars and car racing, to be honest, but I came into this ready for a blockbuster film starring Brad Pitt, director Joseph Kosinski, who also did Top Gun Maverick, and also I didn't know Tron Legacy, which I enjoy because of the Daft Punk soundtrack. But yeah, so it's very much a story like you would imagine. It's Top Gun with cars, I would say a bit, and it stars Brad Pitt, who is older as he is now, an older car like star. He's been out of the F1 circuit for a while. We find him in Daytona winning. He has a caravan and drives around the US and sort of seems to have had a long life of ups and downs. And he meets in a laundromat Ruben, his old F1 buddy, who gives him an offer he can't refuse, which is to come back to the F1 and help a failing car group that needs some new blood, but this is old new blood. And so he auditions to be part of the Apex car group. And there ensues a competition between this rookie, which is named Joseph Pierre, played by Damson Idris, and I guess Ruben, I should have mentioned, his old friend is Javier Bardem. And so the film is really about a season of this car and this team coming together and doing ups and downs of F1. Formula One car racing. Did I get that right, Gary? Do you know anything about this?
Bits and bobs. Like I used to watch Formula One when I was a lot younger. I've not watched it for years, but I've got colleagues who are F1 fans. So through hearing them talking about it, I've kind of kept tabs on the world of F1. And yeah, Sonny Hayes kind of comes out of retirement to rejuvenate this failing team's chances to try and get them on the board and at least finish somewhere in the top 10 so they can start building some points so that the team doesn't go under. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's Top Gun with cars, and it's the same writer as well, Aaron Kruger, who developed the story with Joseph Kosinski directing. And I kind of came out of this one feeling similar to how I came out of Top Gun Maverick, in which I thought the action was really well done, exhilarating scenes of tension in the races, and the film was really, really good when nobody was speaking, because as soon as anyone opens their mouth, the script, the storytelling is like so
it's problematic.
Yeah, it's so clunky. It's problematic. I mean, I probably liked it more than Top Gun Maverick because I'm more of a Brad Pitt fan than a Tom Cruise fan, and Brad Pitt does kind of have enough like charm and gravitas to make some bad films good, but I don't know, he had his work cut out for him, I think, with this one.
Yeah. I agree and disagree. Like, I haven't been keeping up, nor did I didn't know anything about Formula One. I obviously live an hour away from Daytona, I have no understanding of this world whatsoever and no interest whatsoever. But I was in a room full of people who must be when I went to this it was cinema, lots of men. And it was palpable how much I did play Mario Kart, on Nintendo years, and it did feel like I was in a really fast, high energy, high budget Mario Kart game, watching on the screen. So as you said, the action was quite good. I have kept tabs on Brad Pitt, so I am commonly watching a Brad Pitt movie as bad as it could be. And this one wasn't as bad as I expected it to be, but also maybe I had heard it was kind of maybe like there might be a cult following with said movie, or people that responded well to it. So I think like you said, for what it was, for it said popcorn action movie that came out, I saw Mission Impossible. This was way better. Like, this wasn't trying to be complicated. This was a story of like old guy versus new guy competition, you know, and even the romance wasn't even that big of a deal. Like it was more comfortable than the first Top Gun, you know, like romance. But like there was all these elements of a Jerry Bruckheimer film. Like this felt just very much like something I've seen for 30 to 40 years, you know, like of those kinds of films. And it was perhaps because of the star at the head of it that made it more enjoyable. It also perhaps was something, again, as someone who knows nothing about this world, it brought me into a world that I wouldn't know anything about. But as someone who is interested in different forms of sports, like the Tour de France or, you know, like Premier League or something that, you know, I didn't know about before I, you know, started to watch it, I think it actually it did the brand. Like if you're thinking about like, this is a brand, so this is what it is. It's a commercial. It's a, you know, I mean, there seems to be like Geico all over it. And like Formula One is obviously probably propping this up, you know, for expectation that there will be a lot, you know, this is like a Barbie movie or whatnot. So there, in that element, it didn't fail to be kind of that IP sort of film that it was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that aspect of it, and I think Formula One themselves did put a lot of money into this film, and there's for fans, there's a lot in there that people will enjoy, and there's cameos from like some of the drivers turn up. There's like Max Verstappen's in there, and Lewis Hamilton's in there, and there's like I think fans might get frustrated with some of like the inaccuracies and the way that a race would play out, especially with some of the dangerous tactics that get deployed. But I thought that the kind of the pinnacle of this film is that rainy Italian Grand Prix, which would get like no spoilers because there is like quite a shocking moment in it. And I thought that whole sequence was really, really good. Really enjoyed that element of it, but again, it was just like a complete mixed bag where when people weren't speaking, I was gripped, and then when they were speaking, I was eye rolling constantly. Like even like these types of films, I guess, are known for the like the supportive wife trope, and it kind of irked me a little bit that you could see that they're going, well, we're not going to do that in this film. We're not going to have the supportive wife, but they've got the supportive mum, and they've got this like skilled engineer who has like built the car. I think they mentioned that she used to work in aerospace, but then of course she has like the subplot romance with Brad Pitt, and the writing around that was just quite.
Oh yeah, it was terrible, and but we should mention that there was Kerry Condon, who plays the love interest, but it's she's a great actor.
Like I made really good in like Banshees of Inisherin, and I just feel like her role is just it was
it was terrible, but I think that's like the reason why I said I think unlike in Top Gun, like I'm just saying Top Gun, the first one, you know, it's like that you have this person who's in charge versus like, you know, the Maverick, and like Sunny Hayes, Brad Pitt's the Maverick, and you know, she's like she's the engineer. And at least this one, there wasn't this like really awkward like make-out scene, which I find one of the like most awkward make-out scenes of all time. This one was like, you know, like 5 seconds. Like, we're not here for that. We had to put this little romance in here, but we're really here for the cars. So that's why I'm like, actually, if you're going to get me into the car race and how scary it is and watch it, then I think it actually did what it was supposed to do, which was like keep you entertained and like just got rid of the boring stuff we had to add, which is hot girl, attractive old man, like mature man, like
I suppose it at least they didn't have Brad Pitt getting together with a younger mechanic character who's like the other women in the three women in the entire film.
No, it was awkward. There's no question. There was a great deal of awkwardness to the story, but it was an IP film that like I think successfully worked better than a Tom Cruise one. Although I did find his I watched a few podcasts with Brad Pitt, like when he was doing promo for this or whatever, and he did say that he would consider Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt might do a film together again, as long as he doesn't have to jump out of a plane. But then he went on this whole thing about like how he had to, do, like, he likes to race cars, and they had to race them at this certain level or whatever, which is like, I'm an actor and I race cars at 300 miles an hour. Is just, it is what these famous actors do. Like, to point, I'm, you guys all know I have my issues with Tom Cruise greatly, but I enjoy making fun of him. But like, I respect Brad Pitt a lot more, and I don't think he was making a film that was attempting to be anything other than what it was.
Yeah, I think it's like as a big glossy advert for Formula One, it works. And I think I've heard people saying that like watching it has made them want to get back into watching Formula One. So it's doing what it's set out to do.
Yeah, I mean, I would go to I would watch a race or go to one now, but only as a pure amusement that I've seen this film. It won't be like my first, it won't be my like new side passion.
So watched Formula One Drive to Survive all 7 seasons?
No, but this is the Netflix documentary, right?
Yeah.
They even mentioned that in the film.
Yeah.
They mentioned Drive to Survive.
One's advertising marketing is going really deep.
Yeah, and I think now, like, in the kind of modern age of Formula One, like, the drivers have got like huge followings on social media. It's like, obviously it's massive, and they've got a wide like global fan base that this is going to tap into, and people are going to get a lot out of the racing scenes, which are very well done. Like Joseph Kosinski's got a real flair for these dramatic sequences that he obviously pulled it off in Top Gun Maverick, which saved cinema and all that. This one is entertaining as well in that aspect. But it's kind of like...
Did Top Gun Maverick save cinema?
Didn't Tom Cruise save cinema with Top Gun Maverick, apparently?
I thought he did with like Mission Impossible. I don't know, he saves cinema all the time, so,
Yeah,
And he does love popcorn, by the way, so...
Oh, does he?
I am just shaking his head.
I preferred it to Top Gun Maverick. And it was really good when nobody was speaking.
I like when cargo zoom.
All right, F1 is it's a good popcorn movie, and check it out if you want that.
We'll always have this island and your beautiful music.
Oh, yes, indeed.
You made it, okay?
Is there not like a harbour?
It's sort of nature's harbour.
Welcome to Wallis Island.
No!
Do you sell rice? My phone got wet.
We've got pasta.
Has to be rice, apparently. Oh, you've got rice pudding, look.
Rice pudding definitely won't work.
Well, not with that attitude. No, it won't.
You know it isn't.
The great Herb Maguire.
Coming all the way out here without your roadies.
Which brings me to the thorny issue of payment.
Where will the audience be? You said there'd be 100.
I said less than 100.
Is it just you?
Yeah.
Right. I'm literally playing for one guy. I'm going to have to take out a restraining order. Can you shut the door?
Absolutely.
No, I meant...
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Herb. I'm not really used to having guests.
So, what's happened with you and Nell Mortimer?
When was the last time you played together?
I'm quite a private person, to be honest.
I know you are. But go on, what happened?
Do you invite Nell?
Yeah, she's with Michael.
Who's Michael?
Her husband.
Oh, shit.
In a good way, or...?
You knew I was coming, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't really listen to your songs back in the day.
Is this my guitar?
Yeah, got that at auction.
Oh, wow, you are a fan.
My favourite was always Maguire Mortimer. Your music changed everything.
Herb. He's gone to get his guitar.
Oh, has he? Has he? Ah.
If you need some affection and you're feeling all alone.
That's lovely, isn't it?
Just take it in, Charles.
Take it in, drink it in, glug glug. Water everywhere.
Please,
can we just please
watch the
appreciate
sunsets?
this damn sunset?
Well, it shows us where it wants to go. Oh, give me your love to me.
I know you miss this.
I miss our music.
Oh, give me your love to me.
Hell of a serve you got in you. I've no one to play with, so the only thing I can practice is the old serve. Ah! See, this is the issue. Honey!
Love the past, but it's gone now.
You've ruined my life. I wish you'd stop saying that. One day we might wake up hungover with 2/3 of diddly squat to our name. No! But we'll always have this island and your beautiful music. Wowzers in your trousers. Yeah, the waves. No, shh. Like, shut up. Don't say me. Yeah.
Oh, yes, indeed.
All right, so the final film I'm going to review is The Ballad of Wallis Island. It did premiere at Sundance, but is a British comedy written by Tom Basden and Tim Key, who play two roles in the film. And basically there is on Wallis Island, which is quite a remote island, there is a super fan of a former indie folk band, and he's now invited them for, he's invited the man and woman to come back and do a concert just for him. And yeah, we learn, they come back, they've not seen each other since then. And yeah, a little story of reminiscence and romance ensues.
I mean, that is sort of the setup of the film, isn't it? That like, oh, what will happen when these two famous indie songs, I was about to say songstress. Oh God, no, please. Yeah, when these two get put together again. It's interesting. What struck me first about this is that so there's a lot of allusions, a lot of to other folk acts, British folk acts from the aughts,
oh, okay,
from the teens. So it's just very much the era when like Noah and the Whale and like what's the name, Mumford and Sons and stuff were charting. And then so to have them sort of casting back in the good old days when they were just kids, and they're talking about like 2008 in 2009 2010 is interesting, and it shows you how much has truly changed in culture and the world since then. For example, you've got like the head, like one of the guys in Mumford and Sons is now an alt-right sympathizer, so that's where we are. That's how much time has elapsed. Fun fact, Carey Mulligan is also married to a guy in Mumford and Sons, I think, isn't she?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So that's her little sort of connection to that world. Yeah, so it does a lot of sort of world building around that kind of genre and that kind of time. That sort of there's a lot of nostalgia in the film around that, I think. Looking to the pre-COVID, state of the current world situation going on there. It's quite I think it's quite a comforting film in a lot of ways, but it's also very melancholy. Yeah, I mean, initially when I was sort of setting out to go see this, I was like, sorry to say it, but when I hear or read like a British comedy, I just cringe. I just think it's a very specific type of thing for a specific kind of.
100%. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I was going in sort of like, okay, I have a preconceived notion of what is going to look like, and to an extent, this film does do that. It does hit those points. It hits that sort of like that dad comedy area where there's lots of puns and lots of like silliness in there, but it also veers away from what you may think it would be. So yeah, the central story is meant to be sort of around these two musicians and sort of will they, won't they kind of storyline, and then also that really a little bit of a cliched premise where you have the sort of unlikable character fish out of water scenario. So with this very London centered, very successful, rich musician finds himself out in the sticks on an island where he can't get any amenities, and he's only surrounded by fans. So in a way, his worst nightmare, living hell in a way. So a lot of the comedy hinges on that axis. However, the film actually sort of ends up being more about loneliness and about relationships, and doesn't really necessarily go the way that you'd think it would go. And I think that's kind of a saving grace about the film, really.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of was watching this film and thinking the same thing you said, that it's like, if I had watched this, if I was still living in New York and I was watching this at like an art house cinema, watching British comedy, I would have been like, oh, isn't that quaint, or whatever, like a film. I didn't have that response. I felt like it felt very similar to, like, it's almost kind of in this very cliched British comedy sort of thing, and I just didn't like it. It kind of annoyed me, and I was in the character who really annoyed me was the like because I think it's this trope of the annoying fan, who lives on the island and is very uncomfortable in his skin and stuff like that and doesn't know how to talk to the lady. And yeah, there was very much about loneliness and, loss and grief and stuff like that. And I think there were a lot of different elements that were fun or pretty or like interesting. I love Carey Mulligan, but like it never got past me. It never got past that part to me where I was like, uh-oh, another one of these kinds of films. And also I would say the ending really was so disappointing for me, completely. Like what did we learn? The other thing I would say too is that if it didn't have Carey Mulligan and maybe it didn't have this actor duo, I would have it could have borderlined Netflix like bad, Castle for Christmas. Like
yeah. Oh no, yeah, for sure. It's so British in the sense that it is like kind of like the British version of those like those like Hallmark movies.
Like, that's just what I mean. Where it's like the Castle for Christmas, Netflix sort of. There's a whole bunch of them, which you could have totally seen this in a Hallmark. Like, and my mom would have been watching it and been like, "Oh, isn't this fun? Scottish film, blah blah blah."
Or like that one with Emilia Clarke in it, where she's like caring for this very rich landed gentry guy who's become disabled, and it's very much that kind of, oh god, and she's in frigging Last Christmas as well. Oh my god, yeah, okay, so yeah, this is very much the territory that we're in. Yeah, it's very much the territory. I mean, it is so heavily reliant on that like douchey London fish out of water thing. It is just, and yeah, very, and it's so unkind and stereotypical to, with regards to like anybody who seems to live outside of London or the south of England, which is just like, it's just like, seriously, is that the audience that can they make enough money off this film just from like sort of people who middle class, upper middle class, or people in London and like south of England? Because yeah, like I really didn't like that. Right, so I should preface this by saying that I love Tim Key. I think his performance was actually really good considering the kind of film that he was put in. I think his emotional range was actually quite staggering. He kind of got to me a little bit, to be honest, with his acting and his storyline, his tragedy. But his character is really, it gets treated so poorly with regards to his lines and the way he acts. It's just, it feels like one of those films that's like for adults, but adults who are kind of children. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm with you. I don't think I don't think any of the performances were bad. I think it was just that
they make him so provincial and it's so rude. Yeah. It's just like as if anybody on an island, or not to say that like there's not a couple of people who are really just like sweet summer children who don't know any references, but the way that these people just are made to look like they're absolute idiots compared to these sort of London types is just pretty annoying. So for example, there's like, yeah, just showing them to be absolute simpletons when the character, the millionaire character that Tim Key plays, he's become a millionaire because he, in what I thought was quite a sweet and kind of quirky twist, he'd won a lottery not once but twice.
Yeah, I like that.
He won the lottery.
Yeah,
he won the lottery once and then traveled the world with his wife. And before that, he was a nurse, which it is quite a funny line when he's like, male nurse. I was a male nurse. But he's like a worldly person. It's not like he hasn't lived a life. He's not grown up on this island and he wasn't born rich. He's just like, he would know, like for example, at one point he says, "What's a mosh pit?" And then another person doesn't know what like a Reese's peanut butter cup is. And it's just like,
yeah.
Is that funny? Is that really funny? Or is it just funny to people who are in that extremely small cohort of the British people who think that everyone's that there are simpletons out there? It's just like,
yeah, I mean there is this trope that comes out a lot, and I mean people even make that argument with Local Hero or whatever, where it's like the townspeople in the rural areas that we're making. And I actually had that argument with Banshees of Inisherin. Even that to me like sometimes went on a realm of the simpletons in the rural, like, and I find that I find when I see it often in British films, or not just British films, but particularly I see it in British films when you're like going to an island or like a far-flung place, that there is that kind of, oh, isn't that quaint and cute, that they don't know, there's nothing in the supermarket or in the local shop.
Yeah, it's just a bit. It's a pretty mean joke, and it's not very funny. And to wheel it out constantly is just not really much to go on. It's great. It's just pretty repetitive. Yeah, that was definitely my gripe. But I mean, I did enjoy the puns. Not gonna lie to you. I mean, it was a very different cinematic experience than one that I'm used to. Like I'm not used to sort of going and then hearing just like puns and silly dad jokes and hearing people like seriously laughing, like deeply laughing about it, and I thought that was quite endearing, really.
Did you see it at Cameo, or did you see it at where did you see it?
Yes, I saw it at Cameo yesterday.
Yeah. No, I saw it is streaming here on Peacock now in the US. It came out actually earlier here, which was interesting. But yeah, it's I mean, it's not a bad film. It's, like I said, it's quaint and cute, and my mom would like it.
Sweet. Yeah, I think it's sweet. I think it's one of those films that does occupy that sweet spot where it's sort of between all other things. Like, it doesn't fit into like a horror. It's not a horror genre. It's not a biopic. It's just sort of in its own little place of sweetness. And
perhaps like it's funded. I think we talked about this, like it's funded for a very specific audience who will appreciate the pun jokes and the dad jokes, and that's where and how they expected, to win audiences.
Yeah, and the fact that Carey Mulligan is dressed up in like, Anthropology's best dress and like outfits, despite the fact she's a humble chutney maker and she goes to play like stickball on the beach in her 1,000-pound outfit. It's so cute. It's just like there's an audience for that who would love it.
I did love
but
that.
I don't begrudge them the audience. I don't begrudge that audience that experience at all.
I did like that little montage of like the third wheel romance like moment when they go out to and play good stickball, as you say. That was I felt the bonding.
Yeah, but I think the idea of being a musician who is, by the way, one of the most unlikable characters ever that I've seen in a very long time.
Was he like playing like Mr. Coldplay or something? I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, so Tom Basden's character must have had there must have been some kind of writer's room about who they could be inspired by that. But like, yes, I think you may be correct. But yeah, the pretense of sort of luring him onto this island is is a little bit sort of Wickerman-y, like, luring him under false pretenses is a little bit Wickerman-y, but then it just was like harmless British comedy.
I know it could have gone a totally different route, but it went the Hallmark route. So,
but bless Tim Key for his performance. So after actually a bit of like last minute Googling, it turns out that Tim Key and Tom Basden wrote a film in 2007 that was called The One and Only Herb Maguire Plays Wallis Island, which was a short comedy film directed by James Griffiths, nominated for a BAFTA for Best Short Film in 2008 and won the UK Film Council Award for Best British Short Film at the Edinburgh International Film Festival. So it looks like a revisiting of that.
It looks like they just redid the whole film, but with Carey Mulligan, and got it into Sundance.
Yeah, which is interesting. I mean, the 2007 version looks really kind of compelling because, as I was just saying earlier to you, Amanda, things that are shot in 2007 on film look like they're shot in the 70s, and they have that kind of like, as I was saying earlier about the nostalgia element, that kind of like folky, kind of like indie, like when in the early 2000s when things sort of turned away from the trashiness to sort of look back to the nostalgic kind of knitwear hipster folky kind of.
But if it was in the noughties and the story was similar, what kind of folky artists were they? Were they like a 70s folky artist or something?
Maybe, yeah, just like a really niche, like, yeah, that's a good point. Who is he?
Like, yeah, like what era are we like looking back to in 2007?
Maybe he's just a hyper niche folk artist, and this guy is a real weirdo, in the sense that he's a super fan of some like extremely niche.
Well, you have me intrigued because it's on YouTube. So if you know everyone's Ballad of Wallis Island, and watch the previous short film, The One and Only Herb Maguire Plays Wallis Island, and we'll compare.
Yeah, plot thickens.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So it's Ballad of Wallis Island, and it's out in cinemas. So that's our show. We covered a lot of summer flicks, and we're ready for the festival next month. Any other films? I think I briefly mentioned Materialists as a film that I'd like to see. Any other films you guys are excited about seeing?
Yes, I really want to see Friendship.
Friendship. I don't even know what Friendship is.
Yeah, Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson.
All right.
Sorry, I was just about to. I forgot Paul Rudd's name for a hot second there, which is greatly flattering to Tim Robinson.
I've heard it's good. There was a preview of it at the Cameo last week. My colleague saw it and she liked it.
Yeah, it's been described as like, what is it? I Love You Man for sickos. That was my favorite review of it thus far. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I also would like to see Dying. Excited about that. Shrouds. I was quite interested in seeing Shrouds. Just get a little summer horror sci-fi fix, and to see what David Cronenberg is up to, you know.
Yeah, I'm interested to see Shrouds. It's on the Filmhouse next week, so it's kind of about. I think his wife died a few years ago, so this is his grief movie.
Interesting.
So
it's got super mixed reviews, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a mixed review person for Cronenberg. I don't. Yeah, so I'm interested to go and see it. There's a film that's out on demand today, which is pretty good. It's got a good central performance from Toby Kebbell, who I don't think people see enough of. He's an actor that I like. It's called Salvable. It's about this ex-boxer turned care home worker who turns to bare knuckle boxing because of his old friend comes into town. So that's out on demand in the UK today. So I'd give that one a shout out. It's worth seeing for Toby Kebbell's performance. And then what else is on the list? Superman, and then the Shrouds as well.
The one art house cinema sort of near me here in Florida has a screening of Eddington coming out, which was Can Ari Aster dystopian film about COVID in America. Yeah, it didn't get panned, right? Yeah, so I'm very curious.
Exciting.
So I'll see that as well. But also The Naked Gun. You guys aren't excited about The Naked Gun?
No, I can't believe that it's been made. I watched the trailer. The trailer is like another Pavements, where I was like, I'm not in on this book.
That completely bypassed me, but you know what? Would watch.
Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson. I mean, they got a couple laughs at the F1 in the F1 screening I saw last night. But so that is. There's so much on offer. Take your pick. And then there's the Edinburgh International Film Festival, which we'll see you on our next month. Looking forward to it. And thank you both for joining, as always.
Okay, thanks very much.